67, huh?
Oh, what a hit on Dunham by Switowski.
I think I made him shit himself.
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you on the Metal Time Radio podcast with my co-host and great friend, Edgar Allan Poet, and we are here for Poetic Carnage. And this is a podcast that we do every once in a while for the NFL season, plus other sports whenever we feel like talking about it. But usually it's the NFL stuff.
Yeah.
And we kind of approached it differently this year. We did one at the beginning of the year, then we did the halfway point, and now we're at the postseason and end of the regular season, to where now we're going to go through MVPs, the season recaps, our predictions for the season. I even got my division winners and my list that I had I picked to see how accurate I was going to be. I was pretty good on some, bad on others. But how are you, my friend? You're looking swell.
Thank you. I feel a little bit lighter than last time our studio audience saw us. Shout out to
It's
the
that
Marvel.
Viking blood.
It's that Viking blood.
That Viking blood.
It's that in the pursuit of hot goth moms that's motivated me to lose this weight.
Goth mommies.
Goth moms is a very niche but beautiful subsection of the population that I'm incredibly interested in. Hello, goth moms. Hello. No, I feel great, man. It's going to be a good show.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. I have a blast. We do our draft every year, which we've done 2 years. Last 2 years been great. I've actually figured out now how we're going to do our intermissions. Like we traded last year, but I got an even better version of it now. But
last year it was just one of us messaging, "I have to piss."
Well, yeah, because the very first year we got so hammered.
Oh,
drinking.
it was glorious.
We were done by like pick 10.
Oh Jesus, I was so dehydrated. And you know what I did after that? I kept drinking.
Yeah,
it just and I don't
kept
drink
down at it.
That was a poor choice. We did better.
So before we get into the most valuable player, let's go through the other ones first, because I know you got a lot to say with MVP. So first, let's start with the coach of the year. Now, I have 2 candidates that I feel would be worthy, but you might have some different ones. I don't know. So my runner-up, of course, would be my very own Sean Payton. Considering the rookie quarterback, the young team, obviously we weren't as strong against some of the better competition, but we did win games that we needed to. And of course, we are in the playoffs, so anything can happen at this point. But I think he deserves a mention on that.
He does.
But I think the guy that I think really kind of impressed me a lot, especially with everything that happened, is Kevin O'Connell from Minnesota. I did not expect the Vikings to be near as good as they were. In fact, if I go back and look at what I predicted, I had predicted them to finish dead last in the division, because this was after losing Kirk. And so even though they had drafted the boy from Michigan, you thought maybe they would just have a learning curve on their way back up to the top. And so, as we know, it kind of turned different for them with Sam Darnold, who has played lights out this year for them. But what about you? Where do you stand on Coach of the Year, in your opinion?
So my runner-up is Andy Reid.
I agree with that.
One of the issues that I have with Coach of the Year is if you pull up the last 20 winners and you look at that season, a lot of them have a strong narrative behind them. And a lot of times Coach of the Year is coach who did well and had an interesting story. I remember Marvin Lewis won it a year where the Bengals team had suffered a lot of tragedies. Not saying they deserve it. They were a very good team that year. But I'm just, there's something like that. And much like many of the other main sports, when you go through the Coach of the Year, a lot of times because of that, you see coaches who did well, but maybe they didn't have a sustained career. Maybe they had ups and downs. Bill Belichick only has 1 or maybe 2 Coach of the Years. You would think that, if you go through legendary coaches, if you make your list of top 5 head coaches of all time and you see how many Coach of the Year awards they have, it becomes quite harrowing. So I think that Andy Reid took an offense that has a bad line and had a lot of injuries and once again called it beautifully. Now he has Mahomes, but he needs to get some credit for how well Mahomes does. And if the coach doesn't get any credit when he has a super talented quarterback, then I don't. You have to explain Chicago and you have to explain New York to me, and not just this year, but the year before, and the year before, and the year, and so on and so forth. So he's my runner-up. I think Sean Payton is a wonderful. If Sean Payton got Coach of the Year, I wouldn't balk. There's about 4 or 5 guys who I think you could give the award to. but he's my runner-up. Do you want my actual winner now, or do you
Yeah,
want?
and I think I know who it is. Is it Campbell?
It's Campbell. Uh,
Yeah,
Campbell, I think he's done a
they look so good. The
he's done
Lions.
a good job. He's an offensive coach that feels like a defensive coach, but in a good way. They've overcome a ton of injuries. Um, and while he is unconventional and he breaks a lot of rules and norms of coaching, he is oftentimes the exception to the rule. So,
Hmm.
one of the marks for coach of the year is when you go off and you have your big year, the year that you win it. Does everybody else who's trying to hire a head coach go after someone like you? And right now, you remember when McVay was coach of the year, and he's an elite coach, everyone loves him, but everybody who was on his staff or tied to him at all got hired. Everyone's like, we want the young offensive genius, and that's what teams should still keep doing because it works. But now everybody wants, not saying they don't want a genius, but now they want somebody who's fire up, rah rah, leader of men, that type of stuff. I don't think Campbell gets the credit that he deserves for keeping together and finding elite coordinators, although he's probably going to lose both of them. It was a shock that he even got to have Johnson back this year. But if you look at the record, you look at how good the team is, you look at how horrifying they are, if you look at how aggressive he is and it works on fourth down, even though some of the decisions that he makes on fourth down are not
Well, that
supposed to.
says a lot because again, that particular division is the one that I really fucked up because I had Detroit finishing third.
I had them taking a step back too. I thought their defense was going to hold them, and I didn't think their offense could get better. And I was wrong. I
Yeah,
was just
but
flat out
they
wrong.
look amazing.
They've looked amazing. And the other thing for Campbell that I think it does bear heavy consideration is it's the Lions. I know the ownership operates differently. I know the GM. I know it's not your dad's Lions or granddad's Lions. Those are very sad Lions. Those are Those are like Wizard of Oz, sad fucking Lions. It's a different franchise now. It's not even in the past 6 years since they got rid. Not even 6 years actually, since they got rid of Stafford. It's been trending in the right way. But still, that is the Detroit fucking Lions. And they were so bad that the one thing that they had for years was the Thanksgiving game. And they were so bad, people were like, why do we even need them on Thanksgiving? Now that I know they don't
They win.
automatically get it
That's the
anymore.
thing.
But yeah, now they win. So I would give it to him. I think he's done a wonderful job coaching, and it's not just a story. The story is a component of it, though.
Yeah. All right, so let's move to defensive player of the year, and the two that I have my winner and of course the runner up. I told you this earlier.
Yeah.
Patrick Sasan II would be my runner up. He's had a great year. He shuts down that side of the field. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, DB in the game right now. Broncos, go Broncos. But I still think the most disruptive player that I've seen, and it just never changes the last 2 or 3 years, is TJ Watt. Like, he is just a monster. And I don't think, and I kind of have to come to bat for you because you're a Steelers fan, that he's a guy that, yeah, they mention him, but they never really quite give him the credit I think he really deserves a lot of times. And so, we talked about what PFF did with their particular pick, and I don't hate it, but again, it's one of, as you said, the media darling with Garrett. And I don't know. Garrett's good, but I don't think he's nearly as just disruptive as TJ is. TJ is just that good.
TJ is the sad thing with TJ is, and he's not my pick or my finalist, but I will say just quickly for him, he was runner up the year. Corner, great corner. I can't remember his name. His name escapes when we got it, and I was like, okay, I don't know. I didn't feel strongly about it. Could have gone either way. There
Is
was a
that
year
Sauce
Aaron.
Gardner?
It wasn't Sauce. No, this was in. I'd have to check. I think it was a
It's been a
corner
few years.
for the. It might have been a corner for the Patriots. But I
Oh,
was
okay.
okay with it. Then there was a year where Aaron Donald got it, and you could actually make the argument that T.J. Watt was better. But it's Aaron Donald. You can't get too
Yeah.
mad. Although 8 forced fumbles. I mean, okay, it is what it is. Last year, you saw the reaction by the masses to Garrett getting it, and you've everyone is very familiar with my I am very suspicious of some of the advanced analytics that we use to grade some of these guys on when I see one play that's a pass rush win and then another one that isn't, even though it's the same play. I also get suspicious of these pass rush win rates when some of the sites that do this have their own individual sack totals. So last year they credited TJ Watt with one more sack than he actually had, so on and so forth. So I think with Myles Garrett, he's elite. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He is my runner-up. If he got it this year, I actually wouldn't be mad at it. But actually, he's tied for my runner-up. So my two runners-up is Myles Garrett. He's just been phenomenal. And if I'm being honest, I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but this year for DPOY is much akin to the year that Bosa got it, where they had a great year, but it's not a jaw-dropping, performance, individual performance. So I would give it my tie for second is him being Garrett and Surtain. Surtain's the best corner in football. The only wide receiver who gave him any trouble this year was Pickens on a couple plays that got called back. Pickens is also, and we'll talk about him because he's becoming a problem child, but he also has, oh my God, how did he catch that possibility? And sometimes you're just on the losing end of it.
Well,
So
yeah,
it
even
is
in the
what it is.
intro, you can see some of those catches he makes is just nuts. But
He's a different boy. He's
that
got
last
attitude.
game though, man. Like I was like, I know some of the throws are really bad, but he really had a tough game.
He's one of those. I mean, there's no it's the Brett Favre theory. There's no defense for a perfect pass. My pick, unfortunately, is Trey Hendrickson. Led the league in sacks. I think that's
He's a beast.
it's especially hard because he's the only good defensive player on that team, and I mean that literally. They don't have anyone who's good on that defense. I'm not a Bengals apologist, and I don't give Joe Burrow a pass for his bad defense because you can actually find worse defenses that have made the playoffs. Sorry, Bengals fans, but
Did you see they made a petition to try?
I did. That shit is so soft. I don't even want to talk about that. This is a place for
real talk.
Yeah,
real talk.
that is sad. If that was my son, he signed that. I would probably sign away my rights and go find a goth mom. But the point that I'm making is with him, when you're the best pass rusher in football, and he was this year, and you're the only good player on defense, and you're really the only game breaker, and you're the only one the team has to scheme of. That sack total is just astronomical. The award has to be more than just raw numbers. But considering the load that he had to carry, I think it's him. You could give it to Surtain. Surtain does not get enough national recognition, especially for a monstrous deep. It's weird. The Broncos pass rush, and I know they have the most sacks in football, gets more of a blurb than him. And he's better than any of your pass rushers. Some of those sacks are partially because of him. It's shocking. It's shocking how little we care about elite corner play these days.
Right.
But that's how I view it. If Garrett got it, here's what if I had to make the case for Garrett, because I try to be fair, he does get doubled more than that. That stat is real. A lot of the Myles Garrett stats, it's not his fault, or they're not real. That the double rate is real. The stress he puts on the defense is real. Is he good against the run? No. Does he, with his flash sack thing, sometimes take himself out of the play? And that's why so many of his dumb Cleveland fans are like, well, they get the sack. Some of these guys only gets the sacks after the play breaks down. Like, yeah, and your guy's 10 yards down the field because he impressively down that bitch, but now he's completely out of the play. I'm not saying that I wouldn't take him on my team, scheme notwithstanding, but it is there's ups and downs to everything. I don't have TJ in it. He doesn't have the raw production. He's not beating guys off the line. Oh, that doesn't sound good, but he's not winning off the line as much as he used to. He's had injuries. A lot of guys are injured. He's too great of a player to make excuses for. He had a great year. Just to me, not great enough. And that's okay.
Yeah.
He is,
and that's good because at least you're honest.
I have to be honest.
It's your boy, so it's like
I have to be honest. If he retired today, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you ask me, other than Aaron Donald in the past 10 years, if there's a defensive player on his level, I guess you're catching the tail end, the middle end of his brother. So
Yeah.
other than that, no, I think he is already a top 20 defensive player of all time. I think he's one of the best well-rounded defenders ever, and I stand on that. But it's not his year. Man, it just is what it is. I have to call it like I see it.
Yep.
Sadly,
So let's move on to offensive rookie of the year. And as much as I tried to put my boy Bo in there because he's had a really great year,
he should be in it. He's a vowed. If he wins, it's a vowed award. He's a vowed
well,
award.
he's in the discussion, obviously, but I think that just like I said, when I look at the stats and just to comparable play on the field, like in crucial times, like sometimes Bo doesn't quite come up, which isn't always his fault. He's a rookie. But Jaden Daniels, man, that dude is the real deal. Like, I didn't think he would be coming into the season, but he's proven that he's a baller and he can
He's
play,
balling.
and he's come up in some big ass play times in the games, man. It's like, and that's why I was telling people the other day. It's like, people might moan and groan about the Commanders and Broncos being in this playoffs with rookie quarterbacks, but I'm like, that's a good thing, dude. That's good. That shows you we got a future with some
It's an
quarterbacks.
unserious complaint.
Yeah.
I if the veteran guys can't outplay the rookies, and you think the veteran guys don't suck, then maybe the rookies are just special, and you should just enjoy good football. Jaden Daniels is fourth in QBR. He's fourth in QBR. I like QBR. I don't like it as much as you. We've talked about some of the whatever. It's a valid measuring stick. Okay, you look at Jaden Daniels. He's 10th. He's tied for 10th in passing touchdowns, 9th in interceptions, or he's got 9 interceptions. So that's a pretty decent ratio. He's middle of the pack, 16th in yards. But you watch him play, and you watch the clutchness, and you factor in the rushing, and people are finally starting to stop whining about it. It's a different league, and that shit matters. And if John Elway, I'll take your boy, John, if John Elway played today, they would coach him to run the ball a little bit more than he did. Why? Because it works, and you play to win the game. It is what it is. People can get mad at it. I love Steve McNair. Steve McNair was a guy who a lot of people loved because he was a little bit of a runner. He's a pocket passer. He's a tough guy. He would run the ball more too. It just, the sport changes. And so there are some fans out there that are like, I don't care. It's really weird to say you don't care about production. To say that you don't care about 6 touchdowns rushing and almost 900 yards rushing, it tells me that you would care if he was your quarterback, or you're just so philosophically opposed to the position being different than what it was. It's not a slight on Dan Marino. We love Dan Marino. We love Tom Brady. We love Peyton Manning. We love the pocket passer guys. We love Joe Burrow, and he's a pocket passer guy. It's not bad for the league. You can do both. And I'll say this too for Jaden Daniels. He doesn't make the rules. So when the fans get online and they scream at the quarterbacks for, yeah, you're ruining the game, whatever, they didn't make the rules. They didn't make the rules. They're the player. It is what it is. I'm old enough to remember in the 90s when people bitched about the play action pass being cheating and it should be outlawed. So, I mean, it's jogging some memories now. It's cheating. It's deception. It's like, okay, so is a halfback draw. So is a halfback draw, buddy. It is what it is. Jaden Daniels.
You faked a punt. That's unfair.
It's like, I don't know. Then fucking watch the ball, asshole. What do you want me to fucking do? I don't know. He's a great pick. Bo Nix is a great pick, especially how clutch he was towards the end of the year. My pick is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers. This is a stat. Up until a handful of years ago, this season that Brock Bowers had would have set the record for most catches in a year by a tight end. Zach Ertz has it. He ended the year with 4 or 5 more catches in 2018. Maybe it was 2020 when he did it. I don't precisely remember. So he already had. So that means Brock just had one of the best years ever for a tight end. He has almost 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns doesn't sound a lot, but a lot of tight ends getting that 4 to 6 ratio. So that's pretty good. He did this on the Raiders. Those boys suck. They had a bad coach. They have a bad GM. That's why I believe neither of them are there anymore. I don't know anything that they did well on offense other than throw the ball to Brock Bowers. I like historical precedent. The highlight reel was crazy. I'm convinced he's not getting more traction because he has an unflattering hairline and he looks like he is managing the fuck out of a blockbuster in the late 90s. But Brock Bowers, generational talent and amazing. That's my pick. I would be fine with it. It's going to go to Jaden. I have no problem with it going to Jaden. He pretty much
Just
won that award.
Jaden is probably a sexier pick, unfortunately.
He's a sexier pick, and everyone remembers that game against the Bengals.
Or the Bears. The Hail Mary.
Yeah. That was a thing. That was a fucking
He
thing.
was running all over the place. I mean, that was so LA-esque.
Jaden is, I no longer want to hear that he was just a call. I'm not saying we're sending him to Canton, but I am saying the same thing I said about Stroud at the end last year. There's no longer a doubt that he can play and play well in the league. Now, how great he becomes is remaining to be seen. But if he tanks out in Washington, I'm going to be thinking more of what the fuck did Washington do than it being on Jaden. And I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move into your favorite territory now, the MVP. And
okay.
Just going to break down the 5 that I have that are in the running.
Could you start with our wager first? I want to let the fan or our one-sided wager.
Okay, yeah. So Mr. Poet here is put a wager on me. So I've known this guy's passion regarding a particular player for a long time. We've gone back and forth over the years. But, to be fair, the last couple of years, I've actually given that player some due because I think he has improved a lot in the areas.
You're also a fair person.
Yeah,
you're a fair fan.
Despite hating the team that I'm, I used to live in that state.
Same Z's. Fuck them.
But the wager is, so I have my pick for who I have MVP, and he does his. Now, his wager to me was, I'm going to try and convince you that I have the right guy. And if I'm correct, and you actually end up coming over and saying, yeah, I think you're right, he deserves it, because this guy over here has really put the work in. He's got his thing. He's going to prove it to me. But he's going to buy me a jersey of my choosing, which of course would be affordable. I've already found one that's about $70 that I want. So if he can convince me, now I could just say, you know what? Yeah, you convinced me. I want that fucking jersey. But no, I want to be fair. Like, I don't want him to waste money on me just because he wants to do it. But I like his wager. I think it's cool. And, the thing about this guy is he does have like a law background. So he's very good at debating and very good at laying out his arguments. And so this is one of the reasons why he's one of my good friends and one of the guys that I do this show with, because I love his sports knowledge on football and all things that we talk about. So this will be interesting because I don't take this lightly, because it's not for me. I kind of explained to him earlier, when I look at MVP, it means a lot more than just stats or even just athletic ability, or even what we talked about the other day, where some people were mad because this particular player already had it a couple of times. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if they have 10 times. If they earn it, they earn it. That's it. Yeah. I don't care. So so the wager is, if he can convince me that his guy is the one that should be selected, that he will get me a jersey of my choosing.
Oh no! If I don't persuade you.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
If I don't persuade you, you get the jersey. If I persuade you, and it's
so even easier.
How honest, yeah. So it's a testament to how honest I think you are. And part of this came up with, my co-host and I have a shared disdain for sports media today, because it's gotten so silly with the morning debate shows and it's very dumb. It actually kind of mirrors news and things of that nature. And so for me, it's low stakes. It's a jersey. I said up to $200 before shipping, because I forgot where you moved. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, I think it's somewhere on the East Coast, but maybe it was out West. Oh shit, I'm not a good friend. I live kind of in the middle-ish southern part of the country, so give myself a little leeway there. But because of that disdain and frustration with it, I feel like it's on me to make a good, comprehensive argument while also arguing with passion, because I have to have fun doing this. And on top of that, it is slightly for entertainment, although we don't let the entertainment aspect of it rule over us, because we're not fucking hacks. But I also think that the skill in debate in sports talk is gone, and we might talk about that a little bit later. And it's not all on the people who are on TV, although some parties are guiltier than others. And I just want to put my money where the mouth is, because a lot of times I just say these guys are hacks and I don't respect them. I don't think that they're any good, and I could do better. I'm not saying I could do better on a national audience, but
the other thing is, like, we here, on our channel and with this show, like, we're not obligated to kiss anybody's ass. Like, we can
no.
just tell it how it is. Like, and that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't try to begrudge to skip, the skippers of the world or anybody like that, but like, they have to sort of keep their P's and Q's in check, because if they start pissing off everybody, they won't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
These guys will refuse to do any kind of business with them, whether it's interviews or whatever. So they have to try to keep their relations up. We don't.
Yeah,
There's nothing here that we don't answer to anybody but ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of times I've told Brett Favre to go fuck himself. Oh, which reminds me, hey, Brett Favre, go fuck yourself. And Deshaun Watson, go fuck yourself too. Like, obviously you can't drop F-bombs on live TV unless you play for the Dodgers.
But we can't hear.
But we can hear. And so it just is what it is. So it's a personal challenge to myself.
So my 5 candidates are Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, and Sam Darnold. I've already talked to Poet about who my selection was, and he kind of surprised me a little bit. He kind of said, I see it.
Yeah.
And so, again, this kind of falls in line with the Vikings coach and what they've done this year. And I can't, every time I keep thinking that Darnold was going to kind of just fall in the tank and kind of revert back to that guy that I saw in New York, he never did. Like, he's had some rough patches, but, he's also a guy that's been a journeyman. So he's sort of on this, like, almost Gannon run, almost. Like, if you remember Rich Gannon, how he was a backup for so long, and then all of a sudden he got fired for Raiders. Yep. So he's kind of doing this little thing where he's, he knew he was going to be a backup to the rookie that was drafted. That rookie gets hurt. Now it's on him. And everybody thought, including me, that this team was fucked. Like, I just thought they're done. They're not going anywhere. So they went, 14-2? Like, they were just behind or 14-3. They were right behind the Lions. So they were right there. So Sam Darnold's getting my pick, and it's more just because without him, that team is nothing. Like, they have some good players. It's not like they're not surrounded with some talent, but if your quarterback's not clicking, and you and I have always agreed that quarterback's the most important position on a team anyway.
It has to be.
If that quarterback is not doing his job, look at fucking Cleveland, man. Deshaun Watson's getting all that money. Then you have Jamesis, and you've got these other guys, and they're not getting it done. They're just not. And so it's how important that position is. And they've gone through the ringer with these guys. Like, you have to sit there and say to yourself, why did they let Baker go? Meanwhile, Tampa's like, thank you. You fucking idiots. Yeah. We appreciate it.
And no, 100%. And to piggyback off of what you're saying, sometimes we go too far in different directions. Back in the day, we focused, the value meant something philosophical. Maybe leadership mattered more. The optics mattered more. Carrying a bad team, even with worse stats, mattered more. Things of that nature. And that's how you get weird years where, like, Boomer Esiason has an MVP and you wouldn't expect it. Although he was a very good quarterback in his right. He was a top 10 guy for many, many years, but it wasn't somebody that you consistently thought, like, top 3, top 5 type of deal, right? Then we overcorrected and we made it all stats. So it turned into, like, so for instance, one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time, although he makes it very difficult to like him, is Aaron Rodgers. And so Aaron Rodgers has a shit ton of MVPs. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. But many years, Rodgers gets MVP this way. I value these stats. You value these stats. If we meet in the middle, it goes to Rodgers. If we go with what I value, it goes to Rodgers. There was the interesting debate when it was him versus Brady, and then it was like, well, who cares more about stats? The efficiency goes to Rodgers, but the raw numbers went to Brady, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and so on and so forth. I like a holistic mix. I like taking everything into consideration. And so the reason why I don't have an issue with Darnold is, first off, so Darnold is, if you and I have his numbers here, just we'll go off some raw numbers. He's
Mhm.
60.60 in QBR, which and that's 14th. So this was a really good quarterback year. Usually the 60.6 to get you much higher. But if you look at his numbers, fifth in
Now,
yards,
keep in mind, just gonna put this out there real quick. Like, I'm
yeah.
not saying that Sam Darnold's gonna do this next year. I'm not gonna say he's gonna
No,
be a
but it's
Hall
a
of
single
Famer.
season award. So
Right.
let's keep that, and that gets back to the well, he has too many. Okay, let's go to basketball just real quick. Michael Jordan should probably have 7 or 8 MVPs. LeBron
Yeah.
James is up there as well. There is voter fatigue. And it's like, well, I'm tired of the same guy getting it. Well, the other guy should be better. Like, I don't,
That's how it is.
I don't know. Well, I'm not as good as Michael Jordan. I want one. Then be better than Michael Jordan. Okay. He retired a couple times. That was your window. Shut the fuck up. Like, it just is
Yep.
what it is. Well, I'm tired of LeBron doing it. Then average 28 and 8 and 8. And then shut the fuck up when you do. Okay. I don't want
Yeah.
to fucking hear it. So
For all
Darnold,
the shit that LeBron takes, if you can't beat him in those stats, he's gonna be MVP. Sorry.
yeah. So Darnold has 35 touchdowns. That's fifth most. 4,319 yards. That's fifth most. 12 picks, still pretty good ratio. And I do give him credit for being the backup because it's like this isn't your starter. And so the load that he has to carry and the odds that he's able to do it, there's an insane value in that. Now, is that kind of an unfair bump? You could argue it. Let's argue it against the other way for a second. Let's make sure this is apples to apples. You remember the year Case Keenum had that miracle year in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, halfway through, he's like, he should be MVP. And you pull up his numbers, and his numbers actually weren't good. Darnold has good numbers. So he doesn't have the fucking numbers. And he doesn't have the
And
eye
see, that's the
popping
funny
numbers.
thing is that's the eye test. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't
you
have
can
the eye
look at
test.
Case and say he's more of a product of the system and the guys around him. But Darnold, yeah, he's benefiting from some of that, but he's also doing a lot on his own.
He's
He's
all
made some incredible plays.
well, we also have to be honest here. And it's okay to say it. It's easier to believe that Darnold got better as a number one. I think he was the first overall pick. It
Yeah.
was incredibly talented over a guy like Case Keenum, who was a UDFA. That's not everything. But and then the other thing with Darnold is so he goes to the Jets, which is where young quarterbacks go to be fucking miserable and seek therapy. Okay. Then he goes to the Panthers, which is another place where young quarterbacks go to be miserable and seek therapy. Then he
Yeah.
goes to Shanahan. All the reports are he does great there. He's wonderful, and he's awesome here. So you're seeing more and more quarterbacks get benched and come back and be good, or leave bad situations and become good again. And it's all different flavors. Anthony Richardson benched, comes back, he looks pretty good. Malik Willis goes to Green Bay, looks really good when he's playing for an injured Jordan Love. There's the Bryce Young thing. There's the Sam Darnold thing. There's the Baker Mayfield thing. They're all different but somewhat comparable things. And one, it tells you Tom Brady's right when he says we are ruining these young quarterbacks and doing a disservice to them. And secondly, it's just maybe it's a flavor of the month. Maybe it's just a weird set of coincidences. I don't necessarily think so, but it makes it easier to believe. And so for your backup quarterback to be able to play big boy football, even though he did kind of shit the bed in the last game, and if they won that game,
Yeah.
I think he would be MVP. I don't have an issue with it. So
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, I don't have an issue with it. If he had gotten his team to the playoffs, I would have said, okay. So he has the best wide receiver in football. I've been on the Jamar Chase best wide receiver in football for a while, and most people disagree with me. It's a convenient year for me to be able to be on that bandwagon, though, but I'm going to cash my chips in while I have it. And T. Higgins, who's amazing, but he gets hurt sometimes. So he has that, a bad line. Cincinnati always has a good running back. You know, I thought that they might struggle because they lost Mixon.
Yeah.
And a
My
couple
biggest
guys
issue
got
with
hurt.
Burrow so much is that, he's a great
Injuries.
quarterback. I really like him, but every year, dude, they get off to these slow starts, and it's like
And
it's
that's what
hard to
some
take you seriously with these consistency issues. It's like
yeah.
until they can get that sorted and actually just be consistent throughout the entire year.
They risk it finally caught up to them. This was a year
Yeah.
it caught up to them. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. But if he had made the playoffs, I would have said the same thing for Darnold, but stronger. And I wouldn't have been mad at it. I
Yeah.
do get frustrated with that. My defense is bad. Well, fucking talk to Peyton Manning about bad defenses.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to
Yeah,
hear it.
you're not alone in that, buddy.
Yeah, it's or Lamar. Like the Ravens fixed their defense, but they were terrible the first half of the season. And so Burrow would have been fine. So Darnold, Burrow, those would have been fine. Saquon, I thought he had a chance to really get it, and unfortunately
Yeah,
didn't.
he's gonna play a factor when we start talking about playoffs because he's changed my
He's a
mind on
bad
something.
he's a bad boy. That's a bad man. That's a bad man. And
Do you remember that? Did you get to see the clip of him jumping backwards over somebody?
yeah, it's just very disrespectful way to get an extra 3 yards.
He's like, "Here, take my tea bag." I was like, "Go
Yeah,
past you."
that's yeah. And now this is what you're known for. You need at least 6 All-Pro seasons to make this not be what you're known for. My MVP is Lamar Jackson. Now I want to be honest with the viewers. I'm going to be
Of
honest.
course.
I need to be blunt. I don't think it's close. And I will stand on an island. I will do the meme where it's like the hill you'll die on, and it's you're all wrong, and it's one guy pointing at like the masses.
Here it begins, folks.
Here
This
it
is where
begins.
he's gonna go hard.
I
He's gonna
don't
go
care.
ham.
It's I know a lot of people are saying Lamar, and I agree with them. I don't think it's close. I think that because he has 2, and last year he got it in a kind of weird year. Like last year's MVP was like this year's DPOY, where it's hard to feel super strongly about it, right? Like or like that's the guy. I don't think it's close. I think if almost any other quarterback had his year and it wasn't Lamar, we would just say that's the guy. And I think it's because he already has 2 and he's not great in the playoffs. That's what I believe. So I want to get into it because it's going to go to Josh Allen is what it looks like. And I do, because Josh Allen has a lot. Josh Allen is amazing. I'm not taking anything away from him. Josh Allen is awesome.
You know what? We didn't really talk about it. What about Goff? Like I didn't even think about that.
Oh, he lost it when he had that 5 interception game, and with Goff, people still hold the Super Bowl against him, and they take the talent in the offensive line against him, and then he's not good when there's a guy in his face. I think that's a little unfair because Manning and Brady are arguably 1 and 2 all time, and they sucked when you got a guy in their face, right? Like so, it just but he was so bad when a blitzer got free. I think there's some lingering hate for Goff, and I also think that because they won some games when he wasn't great, that he's disqualified. Goff should have been in there. At one point, he was getting, some consideration. But the conversation kind of moved away from him. And so much of it is a narrative thing, which I hate. It should be what it is. But I'm going to dive into my stance. I want to defend my stance. So I'm going to frame this as a Lamar versus Josh Allen because that's the two leaders. And the world is behind Josh. They love Josh Allen. They do. And he's so great and he's so awesome. And it's weird that he doesn't have one. And a lot of people like him because he's a threat to Mahomes and they hate the Chiefs. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with any of this. But I just want to run down how lopsided this is. Okay? How lopsided this is. And this is what I compare it to. If you play poker, No Limit Texas Hold'em, you start with 2 cards. You get the flop, then the turn, then the river. You make your hand out of the 7 cards you have, the 5 community, and the 2 cards you have. The best starting hand in poker is pocket aces. And that doesn't mean that pocket kings aren't a great fucking hand. It just means that sometimes you have kings and there's a better hand out there and maybe that person has it. Or there could be a better hand out there pre-flop and the other person has it. It just is what it is. And this year, Josh Allen was the king, but Lamar was the aces. So, in defense of Josh, his team won 2 more games. One of those games, or won 1 more game. They would have won 2 more games if they didn't sit anybody in the last week, but the schedule way it turned out, Chiefs won 15 games. Didn't fucking matter, right? So if you want to say that Josh really is up 2 games on Lamar, I have no issue with it. It's not technically true, but I see what you're going with there. I don't take umbrage with that. So he's 1 or 2 ups on Lamar, okay? And then that's pretty much it. Completion percentage. This is Lamar Jackson. The guy who I was told, and I'm not trying to style on you, I'm talking about the masses, okay? I was told Lamar would never be a good pocket passer. Well, he completed 66.7. Let's just call it 67 against 63.6. Let's call it 64. So 3 percentage points is a lot, okay? Let's do passing yards. Lamar, I think he was top 3 in passing yards, 4,107. Look it up. He was in the top 10. I know that.
But yeah, he's currently 2, 3, 4, about 5th or 6th.
Yeah, 5th or 6th. That's right.
Yeah.
So 4,172 yards versus 3,731 for Josh Allen.
I will say this. I'm going to point this out real quick. I did not know this. he is without a doubt the most out of passer rating and
Yeah.
quarterback rating, he's the highest.
And he has
He's the
number one
highest.
QBR too. Allen is
Yes.
number 2 in QBR.
Yeah.
So that is the QBR one is already a good start for me because you
And
like
I
QBR.
love QBR.
I know
so.
you love QBR, so that helps. Okay, rating is not close. QBR is probably better stat than rating. Rushing yards.
Yes.
Rushing yards. So we're already up 400-ish yards for passing. Rushing yards, 531 for Josh, 915 for Lamar. So now we get to total yards. It's not close. You get to passing touchdowns, 41-28. This is Lamar Jackson. If somebody told you that Lamar Jackson would ever have a passing season like this, we'd go, oh, he's the MVP. Because we know the playmaking, we know the rushing, we know all the intangibles, we know the stress he puts on the deep, yada, yada. It would just feel like, oh my God, somebody would have to break a fucking record. Okay. We'll get to some records being broken that aren't being talked about enough. Spoiler, they're not Josh's. They are Lamar's. So right now, it is a clean sweep. Interception, 6-4. Both did a great job protecting the ball as a passer. 6-4. So now Lamar basically has given you an MVP season, kind of like Aaron Rodgers, where the touchdowns are great, the yards are great, the efficiency is great, the playmaking is great. Okay.
He also leads in yards and attempts.
Let me further contextualize this, because I'm not a Josh Allen hater, but I think that one of my points is that we are emotionally giving this to Josh, and it shouldn't be. With Josh Allen, with the love that he gets for the rushing touchdowns, because he has 12 and Lamar has 5. 12 touchdowns is crazy. If you look up the amount of rushing touchdowns that Josh Allen already has, he has more than some running backs in the Hall of fucking Fame. He's an incredible player. He's an all-time fucking talent. I'm not taking anything away from him. But I'm old enough to remember when Jalen Hurts was about to win the MVP before he got hurt. A lot of people said, well, but the rushing yards and the passing yards tell you that his touchdowns are really more about situation. And it's great that he can do it. That's amazing that he can do it, but we're diminishing it. But so we held that against Jalen, who had a good year this year. And Jalen's not in the same category as Josh. He had that 1 year where he was. But I remember when Jalen Hurts was MVP candidate and people took umbrage with Hurts kind of limited passing and rushing touchdowns or rushing yards and all of that and passing yards. Now, the difference is with Josh, we know he's a much better passer than Jalen. I'm not disputing that, but I am saying that was once a valid criticism of another MVP candidate we don't put on Josh. And I think the reason is simple. It's because we like Josh Allen. And we know he's better than Jalen. We know he's more talented than Jalen. But Jalen that year was having an MVP year. I'm going to contextualize it further. Rushing touchdowns, 12-4. 12 rushing touchdowns is a great year. It just is. The fact that quarterback had it is special. I'm not saying that. But we know that Lamar can rush for a lot of yards and rush for a lot more yards. And we know that he can rush for more touchdowns. But we also know that the Ravens over the years have dialed it back to preserve him. We also know.
Well, you have to.
You have to. Now, Josh Allen is built like he's a faster Ben Roethlisberger, better athlete than Ben Roethlisberger, but he's built different. He's in that Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Ben Roethlisberger, even Carson Wentz. I know those are radically different players, but that frame, that punishing frame. But
yeah,
but Lamar has Derrick Henry on his team, and we're going to get to the differences in talent and things like that in a second. But before we give all of the credit for the run game to Derrick Henry, and I love Derrick Henry. You know how much I love him. To me, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He makes football feel like football again. I love the game as it is now.
Man's man.
He's a man's man. I honestly would rather pay taxes twice in a year than try to tackle Derrick Henry because I would be at that man's mercy. He'd be like, I am sorry,
I just
Pudgy.
watch some of those players that like think they could take them high. I'm like, are you fucking high? You must be high if you think you can do that.
If you are a brave man, not a smart man. You are a brave man. But for Derrick Henry, if we pulled up his numbers last year, and I won't do it because I love Derrick Henry, and he played for the shitty Titans. But if we put up his numbers last year, we pulled up his numbers this year. What is the difference? Part of it is he's playing behind a functioning line. He has a real quarterback. He's being supported. Another part of it is he's playing with Lamar. I'm not saying that he doesn't make Lamar better. And a lot of people hold that talent against Lamar that he has Henry. But I would like to offer you this. Did you know who was tied for first in touchdowns, rushing touchdowns this year? It's James Cook. Do you know what team he plays for? The Buffalo Bills. James Cook is awesome. James Cook has a ton of yards from scrimmage. I'm not saying he's as good as Derrick Henry, but what I am saying is that imagine James Cook if he played with a quarterback who wasn't going to be able to run for 12 fucking touchdowns. It goes both ways. I'm not shitting on anyone. I want to contextualize it further. I talked about records. So just a quick recap. Completion percentage by a mile, it's Lamar. Passing yards, a mile, it's Lamar. Passing touchdowns by 2 miles, it's Lamar. Better interceptions total. Better total interceptions, I should say.
I didn't realize that Henry almost got 2,000 yards this year.
He did.
That was close. Fuck.
He's a bad man. He's a bad man. He was
right behind Saquon.
Exactly. Jesus. He was a monster. And QBR, close rating. I'm not going to scream about rating because I don't really believe in it that much, but it means something, so it should be on there. So everything's going Lamar's way except rushing touchdowns. Okay, let's do rushing yards attempts. 6.6 to 5.2 by a mile. Turnovers. This is the one thing that Josh Allen has because Lamar has some fumbles. Okay. I want to really dive into it. And this is what I think is the best argument. He is the first player to have 40-plus touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and 4 or fewer interceptions. This is a league that's seen Dan Marino, seen Tom Brady, seen Peyton Manning, seen Aaron Rodgers. He's the first to do it. The guy that I was told can't throw did that. Okay. He's the first one to make 4K yards passing and rush for 600 yards and 800 yards and 900 yards. We don't care about that. That stat is so insane. What he basically said this year is, I am Michael Vick, and I am a top 3 pocket passer, and I am a top 1 playmaker, arguably. You can certainly argue some other guy, Mahomes and Allen. But I'm saying he's right up there in the conversation, and it's subjective. So what is it? So this is a rhetorical question, because I wrote this out. What are we actually debating here? And the answer is it should be nothing. But this is how the debate goes for Allen. There's the eye test stuff. I think it's insane to argue eye test against Lamar or against Allen. I think it's a preference. I think it's a pick 'em. I think it's like, do you want $1,000 in 20s or 50s? That's what I ultimately fucking
do. You have, out of curiosity, the stats for game-winning drives this year for either one of them?
I do not. Okay. I don't have any clutch stats.
Okay.
If it's about wins, and that's what a lot of people are saying, well, Allen won his division. He did. So did Lamar. But he has more wins. This is what I would say. 1, there are a lot of people who really heavily weigh head-to-head. You know why I don't. I've talked about it on this channel. Don't need to get into it. The quarterbacks don't play each other. They play the defenses. But a lot of people really care about that. Can I interest you in the beating that the Ravens gave the Bills? I would, if that is your jam.
Dude, you don't have to go that far. You can just tell everybody the beating upon the Broncos.
The Baltimore Ravens ran up on the Bills and said, fuck them, we're playing Oregon Trail. Hit them with the old musket and put them down. Josh Allen was horrible. How horrible? I will let the audience look up the game logs out of that because I don't want to come on the internet, on Al Gore's internet, and disrespect Josh Allen like that. Suffice to say, he did not have a cash money good time, as the philosophers would say. If it's about wins, it has to go to Mahomes then. If it's about wins. And if it's about wins.
Well, that's a good question because and this is my pettiness a little bit from last year. You know, they went out last year and they just annihilated the Niners, and they annihilated another team that I thought they would probably lose to, but they didn't. They really
killed the Lions last year. Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, probably. So how much is a clutch factor of a player? So Mahomes really has the clutch factor.
He is historically clutch. Yes.
Yeah. So my issue with Lamar, and of course, this doesn't really matter with MVP because it's a whole different really debate. But should that be part of it? Because like we talk about last year, and again, my pettiness is coming in because they should have fucking beat the Chiefs at home, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So how much does that play into how you view him? Because the stats are all there. He's athletic. He's great. He's a great athlete. They have great regular seasons. They usually get a couple wins in the postseason, but then it's just like something happens and they just don't get it done. And
They
a lot
run
of
into
people.
the Grim Reaper. They run
Now, granted, this year should probably play out a little better. Henry's going to be the game changer, hopefully, in that manner.
If they give him the fucking ball, yeah.
Last year, yeah, that was really a fucking weird game last year. But
it was bizarre because they didn't give him the ball, and then they didn't give the running back the ball, and they didn't let Lamar run either. So it was insane.
They were just dropping passes and fumbling.
And Zay Flowers, and God love him. I'm a Zay Flowers truther. I'm sad that he doesn't get to play this Saturday. He's out against the Steelers.
Oh, is he hurt?
He hurt his knee in the last game.
Wow.
But for the clutch, this is how I view him. He has a lot of times the Ravens, they dominate someone, then their defense does weird things, and they get back in, and Lamar has to save them. Do I view him as a clutch regular season quarterback? The postseason stuff is really complicated. I would have to sit down and do a breakdown game by game, situation by situation. I will tell you this, though. When they didn't come back and beat the Chiefs in the regular season because the Isaiah Likely toe game, everyone thinks if they score there, they win. It's like, no, I think they needed the 2-point conversion to tie. Then maybe there's all that stuff. But that is an example of clutchness. It didn't go his way, but he did everything under his power. Now, on that drive, he missed a wide open guy. He mid a read, but I've seen every quarterback do that.
Oh, yeah.
I view Josh Allen as a clutch quarterback. So I did not think to pull up their regular season clutch numbers. But what I will say,
well, they both had 2 game-winning drives, so they're right neck and neck with that.
And then there's other thing, and it gets like in the NBA, some people say the entire fourth quarter. No, it's the last 2 minutes. I guess we'd have to sit down and kind of agree what the parameters are. But as a general thing, what I would tell you is I view them as clutch guys. I also know that clutchness in the regular season doesn't matter to some people because Matt Stafford, he's historically clutch in the regular season. Well, it's only because the Lions were bad. And it's like, yeah, they came back and they won. The Lions were bad. Well, I don't know what the fuck you did you just argue for? It's a very weird thing. It's some of the accounting that we do here. But with if it's about wins and good numbers and difficulty, all the injuries the Chiefs had, that's a Patrick Mahomes argument. Mahomes did not make my top 5. He did not make my top 5 for MVP candidates. I'm not saying he's not a top 5 quarterback. And I've heard
that's actually a fair assessment. I mean, as good as he is, like this was not one of his better years.
Season, yeah, or I thought he was great this year, but he just didn't have the number. Sometimes you can be great, but you just don't meet the prereqs. It is what it is. You're not entitled to anything. And now these are arguments I'm going to address that wouldn't come from you because you're not brain dead, but they are out there a lot, and I want to talk about them. Some people say, well, no one has 3 MVPs in the NFL and no Super Bowls. I don't fucking care. It's a regular season award. I'm going to say it again. It's a regular season award. And if somebody keeps getting MVPs and they don't win a Super Bowl, other than the classic and true, it's a team sport or this or that, you might look for another reason why they're not doing it. And he ran into this generation's Tom Brady. Way back in yesteryear when we were younger men, Tom Brady was the AFC North boogeyman. It was, unless he was hurt, it was going through New England. Even if they weren't the number 1 seed, they're going to be in the championship game. It was going through New England. Every generation has one to varying extents. Lamar has the unfortunate reality of playing in the AFC. If he played in the NFC, and the AFC is the quarterback one, same thing for Josh, because he's ran into the Grim Reaper too.
You're probably going to succeed, dude.
I got a couple more. I got a couple more arguments, but
he's got more ammo.
I got more ammo because I really care about this because the MVP really should matter.
God, dude, no, yeah, you are making a hell of a. I'm just looking at his pro reference shit, and it's like this is like one of his best seasons ever.
It's one of the greatest seasons a quarterback has ever had.
This point, I don't know what you're going to point out, but he's like, look, he's had the most touchdowns this year he's ever had. He's His interception percentage is at its lowest.
Uh-huh.
Let's see here. His QBR has not been this high since 2019.
His first MVP when he just blitzed the league.
Yeah.
You want to see a crazy stat? Look up all-time QBR single seasons and comp Lamar there.
How do I? What is that? Is there a site for that?
You could probably just Google it. I'll pull up in a second.
Okay.
But if we're gonna do the regular season thing, then okay. Then congratulations. You are now arguing that it is Mahomes' Super Bowl because you couldn't give it or MVP because you couldn't give it.
He
to
also
Josh.
has he blew the doors off the what is this called, first down passing. So he has 198.
Yep. Some of that, I think that's also a Derrick Henry stat because, if I'm being honest. But yeah, here's some more.
Yeah.
How many Super Bowls does Allen have again? How many AFC Championships games does Allen have? They both have one.
Now they do have an extra game this year. Is this the first year we went with 17 games?
We've been doing it for a couple years now.
Okay, so last year he got the game last year.
Yeah. I think because they had the bye. They were the number 1 seed last year.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm supposed. So I also want to talk about this one, and this is the argument that probably irritates me the most out of the legitimate arguments. So I'm going to take my glasses off.
He's very svelte.
Let's audience.
Should we hold hands?
I'm going to get closer with you because I love you, and you know that I love you. I'm a loving man. I am a caring man. Some might say I'm a kind man. And when I am wrong, I make fun of myself on this show. As a matter of fact, when we went down over our picks the last show, I pointed out how he was a gentleman and not styling on me, as the scholars would say, as the philosophers would say, as much as I deserve, because he's a gentleman. Okay. I am tired of the Pro Bowl fucking argument. Because it's 9 Pro Bowlers to 2 Pro Bowlers. Okay, the fan vote. The fans vote. And it plays a decent amount into who goes. So I don't care. I know people who will swear up and down that their favorite player on their favorite team just happens to be the best at their position. Every time. Okay. So I don't care about that. But if we're going to do that, here's a thought for you. Just a thought. How many Pro Bowlers does Josh Allen have on offense? How many Pro Bowlers does Lamar have? I'll let you look it up. Okay. Rashad Bateman is a good wide receiver. He had a breakout year. He's a big play guy. He's not going to have 100 catches, 90 catches, 1,400 yards. It doesn't mean he's not a good player. Zay Flowers made the Pro Bowl this year. He doesn't have Pro Bowl numbers, but he's the number 1. He's a fun, explosive player. And the Ravens, they always send guys to the Pro Bowl. Last year, they had 1 million Pro Bowlers. The Chiefs still moonwalked them, okay? Don't talk to me about fucking Pro Bowlers. The Vikings have an amazing defense. Most of y'all don't know any of their names, except maybe towards the end of this season because they kept getting sacks.
Denver has like a lot of great defensive players.
And no one knows.
We only said like a couple of them. That's a fun
I
thing.
don't want to hear about the Pro Bowl. Okay. The All-Pro used to mean so much more to me, and they get it wrong all the fucking time. All-Pro still matters. It should matter that much more. Don't talk to me about fucking Pro Bowls. I don't want to fucking hear it. But if we're going to do the Pro Bowl, let's do that. How many of y'all, if you're making the Pro Bowl argument, are screaming about Zay Flowers being elite? Because if let's just break down his division. Is he better than Chase? No. Is he better than Higgins? No. He wasn't better. He's not better than Pickens. He wasn't better thus far than Amari Cooper. Cooper did get traded, and I know his numbers.
I'm not even sure if he's better than Sutton this year.
He's not better than Sutton. Zay Flowers, and he might become better than some of those guys. He's never going to be better than Jamar Chase. That's a different talent level. Chase was a historic talent. We forgot that because he sat out that last year in college because of COVID. We forgot how. Type in Jamar Chase LSU, hit play, and go, oh my God.
I did say this too. His sack percentage is down to its lowest right now.
And I just want to know, who's the A1 wide receiver Who's the A1 tight end? Oh, well, Mark Andrews had 10 touchdowns. Mark Andrews didn't do anything for the first chunk of the season. Isaiah likely didn't do anything for the first
Mark
chunk.
is like a baller, but yeah, he spends a
He's
lot of time
injured.
on the bench,
He,
so
he,
it's like
got-
he's hurt.
he,
Yeah.
he had to block when their line was really bad. They're figuring out he had to block. Guys, sometimes you can just be a good player and not be a Pro Bowler.
Mhm.
But sometimes other teams that you're arguing against also have good players who aren't Pro Bowlers. I promise you, Dawson Knox is still a good tight end. I promise you, Amari Cooper is still a good wide receiver. I promise you, James Cook, even though he didn't get any All-Pro consideration because fuck touchdowns, I guess. I don't know. He's an awesome player. Also, James Cook, 1,000 yards rushing, 2 receiving touchdowns. He had 18 touchdowns. No one talks about it, partially because of Josh Allen. So here's the thing. This year that Josh Allen had was good enough to win the MVP most years. It's just not good enough to win it this year. Joe Burrow's season this year is good enough to win the MVP. It would have won the MVP last year. It might have won it 2 years ago, quite frankly. But this is the argument. This is my silver bullet argument that I have that I made just for you. Just for you. Because earlier I was comping MVP seasons to profiles. This just happens to be kind of a fortunate one for me that you're a Denver fan. There is a quarterback in 2015. He won the MVP. It was not controversial, nor should it have been. His name was Cam Newton. Now, we went over some of the stats for Josh Allen. Now, there are a lot of people who didn't like Cam Newton, didn't think he was any good, yada, yada, yada. I want them to keep the same energy, at least for this year, because it's a single season thing. Okay. 4,473 total yards for Cam that year. 4,262 for Josh. 45 touchdowns to 45 touchdowns total. Cam Newton was ahead by 7 passing touchdowns. Okay. The numbers in our era tend to get better. Coaching gets better. The rules still favor offense. We're dialing that back. Scoring has gone down over the past couple years. It's a pretty good product. There's some weird rules that we don't like, but defense, just watching football this year and last year, defense is getting relevant again. Running backs are going to start getting paid again. We're adjusting for what happens.
Yeah.
It's a cyclical league. Okay, I'm not saying that. But if we're comping the elite passing, even if the guy's not a great passer, but that year he was, passing and rushing touchdown year. It's not Josh Allen going, I am the new version of Cam Newton's 2015, 10 years ago thing. It's Lamar's. So, and I get to cheat there because it's the Cam Newton thing, and you all beat the shit out of him in the Super Bowl, and I know Cam Newton kind of annoys you. But I think when people step back and when you go, one guy is breaking records and we don't care about it, and another guy is giving me an MVP season from 10 years ago, it's still impressive. But it's not like they're out passing Manning's 55 touchdown, 5 bajillion fucking yard season. Okay. Because then that's the MVP. Okay.
Well, that was the trick, right? So, despite the success Cam had that year, which was impressive.
Yeah, he's a monster. He just couldn't duplicate it.
Exactly. And that's the key. Like, we talk about it all the time. We talk about Josh Allen the first 3 years. He was kind of learning, getting through the thing. And
he's been amazing.
And you and I talked about this about 3 years ago. We said, I told you, the one thing I'm looking for Lamar is I got to see the improvement
in the passing. And he gave it to you, and you've given him credit for it.
You are going to win this argument. And the reason why is simple. And again, people that know
I had
me like
6 more arguments, but I'm glad to see that I persuaded you.
The QBR, okay? I did not even know this was this drastic. All right. So in 2019, he had an 83.0 QBR. That's huge.
It's quite good.
Then the following years, 67, 56, 61, 64. And he was an MVP last year with a 64.7.
Last year was such a weird one. And those are good
QBR numbers. 77.5.
Yep.
That's a huge jump.
It is. And the thing with Lamar, too, and I'll give this for Josh Allen, his QBR is staggeringly high as well.
You can still get me that jersey, though.
Maybe, but it'll be a gift. Not because I didn't live up to it. But I put a lot of effort into this, and so I'll just gloss over the last. I can do it in 30 seconds.
No, yeah, fine. Do your thing. You convinced me.
Strength of schedule. The Bills, technically, if you go by some advanced analytics, had better strength of schedule. I understand that. This is what I will say. I think that's an interesting stat because Lamar was 7-3 against playoff teams this year. Josh Allen was 2-3. 2-3 against playoff teams, one of which was Lamar, and he beat the fuck out of them. I even had a fancy Supreme Court quote here, but I won't even. I was being a little too pretentious. I also found that quote at 7 a.m. when I should have been asleep, because I'm an insomniac and that happens. Lamar had one bad game. That was the first game against Pittsburgh. Josh Allen had 3, arguably 3. I think 3, but you could
Yeah, he
argue
actually
2.
had a low. Lamar had like a 66.1 QB
Yeah.
rating. Yeah, that was bad.
It is. I don't want to hear people talk about, and I understand this argument comes from a good place, but I hate the argument, and this is what I'll close with. Well, Josh has to have one. What if he gets hurt? What if he ends his career without an MVP? Then it's on the historians and on the fans to say, yeah, he didn't get the MVP, but he had a lot of years that were better than some years, than some MVP years, whether it was 50 years ago, whether it was the same time that he was playing, this, that, and the third. But the MVP is one of the most important things for a resume. And quite frankly, if Lamar gets it, and he should, MV3 and all that, that's fun. If Lamar gets it, and he should, we close the book on, is he a Hall of Famer? And that means if we give it to the guy who earned it, and what you saw on the field and what you saw statistically, it matters. And the last little thing for Lamar is you can talk about Pro Bowlers and you can talk about this and strength of schedule. Josh Allen won a division with a Tua for a chunk of the season, a Tua-less Dolphins, and even with Tua, they weren't really all that great. I don't even want. I'm just gonna say the Jets. Everyone knows what that situation is, and the Patriots are so bad that they fired a head coach that they wanted to hire 5 years ago to replace Bill Belichick. That might be the worst of it. I don't know if that's worse than the NFC South. What I do know is that division sucks ass.
Who filled in, by the way, because they whipped the shit out of Miami that last game.
Oh
no, that was the Jets. Never mind, that was the Jets that beat Miami.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Patriots. Nah.
Yeah, it was bad, man. And I think that if you remove the love for Josh Allen, because he's gone to a hard luck franchise and we love the way that he plays and he's entertaining and all that, and you just make it about what it's supposed to be about, quite clearly.
Well, I can tell you this, like
it's
even if Lamar didn't get it, like I think Lamar would trade in all his MVPs for a Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, if he wins the Super Bowl, then he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer because that's really the only thing left. I mean, Saquon had MVP chances. They sat him because they want to win a Super Bowl. Is what it is. Josh Allen, they sat him even though another big game closes the gap on some of those numbers. Which is fair. I should say that. Josh Allen. No, I could say he did technically play that game because he wanted to keep his starter streak. So they did the dumb, you start, you throw a pass, you sit. It's so fucking dumb. I fucking hate that shit. Anyway, but it's common. So I'm not calling him out for it or anything. But what happened is what happened. Lamar has him in everything. And when you have him in everything and you have him in some of the most important things by chunks, it adds up. I don't think it's just Lamar. I think it is obviously Lamar. And if we stop looking with love in our eyes and we just look with we just look normally, we just use our common sense.
And I think if you just look at the drastic change, like, this Lamar's been consistently good for years, but when you look at just how much of an impact and how much improvements happened this year, and how long it's been, like 2019 seems like yesterday, but it really isn't. Like
it's not. And he was awesome last year, but for instance, his year this year shits all over last year, right? Joe Burrow's year this year shits all over last year. It was a weird year because Mahomes' numbers were really bad. Josh Allen, did he get hurt? There's some weird stuff going on in Buffalo with Diggs, and it just is what it is. So it just, I'm not trying to say that if Josh Allen gets it, I will feel like it is a little bit of a participation trophy thing. I will feel like it's kind of like Myles Garrett.
I mean, look, you and I are pretty fair about anybody who gets it, like, kind of deserves it. But at the same time, it's like it just goes back to our argument about like how the media is not really doing the homework that you did. Like
they love Josh. If it went to Burrow, I would have been okay with it if they made the playoffs. The people, because it is hard to give it to someone who doesn't make the playoffs for MVP. It's a little different for OPOY or DPOY. If Burrow got,
Well, we did that last year. I said when defensive player of the year, I said Max Crosby should get it because even though they weren't a shitty team, that dude
he
balled
was a
out every
god.
fucking game.
He was a god. The issue I would have had if Burrow got it, let's say that Burrow makes the playoffs and he gets it, it would have been less about, you know what about carrying a team, but it would have been more about, but they're a hard luck franchise and they're so nice and charismatic and they're handsome and it's about the feeling.
People
And
need to
about the
give mine. He used to be a
humility.
Bengals fan. He really hates them.
It's fuck Ohio. Here's the thing. I think Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in football. I think he's better than Lamar. I think he's better than Josh Allen. I think once you get but here's the deal too. Once you get past Pat, any of those three are interchangeable. There's arguments for all of them. I'm just saying that Joe gives me just enough playmaking and mobility. I've seen it even despite the injuries. And he is the best pocket passer in football. And that includes Mahomes. I will hear none of it. I understand he has the great wide receivers, but I didn't hold that against Mahomes when he had Kelsey and Tyreek. Part of the reasons that fucking Tom Brady left Belichick was because he's like, whoa, they have Mike Evans down in Tampa? Oh, they have Mike Evans down in Tampa? They have someone who can run more than a 4-7
Godwin's down there?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
he's down there.
Yeah,
Look at me, Antonio Brown and Gronk. Oh my God. Wait, we're not just throwing fucking dump off screens. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Oh, wait, no taxes in warm weather. I mean, it's pretty fucking good sweetener too.
Go play golf with Shanahan every day.
Yeah, guys, you're supposed to have weapons. When you have a really good quarterback, you're supposed to do things that help him win. That's the point of it. Like, and people get mad about it. And then they turn around and they're like, I hope he nailed the draft. Oh, you fucking hypocrite. So I think it's Lamar. I don't think it's going to go to Lamar. I think people want it to be Allen. And I think that
when did they finally make the decision on that?
It comes out. Oh, the stupid award.
Is it before the Pro Bowl?
When does the MVP get named in the NFL? It'll be February 8th.
Okay, so he's got about a month.
The Thursday.
So technically, I mean, if the Ravens impress, maybe he moves up.
He might, and that's the other thing
because if Denver shocks Buffalo, which could happen, like if that happens, like that could really ruin.
That I don't know when the ballots are due. I would hope that the voters would. I mean, I don't have much faith in the voters to not be swayed. Sports writing is. There's wonderful sports writers. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but the tastemakers, the people who have the loudest voices, and that shit does influence people, including other sports writers. It just is what it is. But I will die on this hill, if for no other reason than this. If I'm better than you at everything or damn near everything, and where you're better at me at, it's not really too far. I mean, rushing touchdowns, to be fair. I'll give you that.
Right.
But if I'm beating you by a decent margin at damn near everything, and I play in
like I said, just the traction of some of the sack percentage down. That's huge. Like you're not taking as many sacks.
Lamar's going to the Hall of Fame. I enjoy that because I think he's worthy of it. I enjoy it because there's some we've talked about it on the show. There's some people who don't like Lamar for some very interesting reasons. Part of it is they just don't like that football changed. Part of it is they have some, I'll be gentle, antiquated, I mean, some shitty racist fucking views. Those people still exist. They can fuck off. It is guys, it just is what it is. So that's my case. I spent a lot of time diving into it. I saw some of these statistics on ESPN, obviously, other stat sites. I saw some of these statistics on some other sports shows. I verified and fact checked those just to be safe. I took, just so the audience knows, I took a lot of the arguments for Josh into consideration. I argued against myself. I treated it like I used to coach debate for a short time, used to do debate, legal, blah, blah, blah. Who gives a fuck? I'm a snarky, sassy, fat, queer guy. Like, whatever. Of course, I'm good at arguing. But, like, I did the work to make sure that I was being fair and that it wasn't just, well, I think this, so I have to be right. Because fuck that. But that's my case.
Yeah, that's good. Like I said, and I looked up stuff. I followed along, and it's like I agree. Yeah. He's put in the most effort and the most improvement. Like you can't argue that. I mean, I love the fact that Darnold's done the unthinkable with Minnesota, but this is a lot different because you're talking about a guy like Lamar who's been touted for so long, but the improvement's like such a huge jump.
Yeah, and some people would say, well, you shouldn't care about the improvement. It's just the stats, or you shouldn't care about this. I mean, you could say, to be fair, going the other way, you could actually pull up some Josh Allen seasons and say that this year he actually regressed a little. I don't believe that because by that logic, Dan Marino's 48 touchdown year, he never
Well,
replicated that.
improvement to me always matters, especially when it comes to Lamar, because his biggest detractors have always been, including myself, can he become a better passer than runner? We know he can run. That's
Yeah.
not a problem. The issue is always about, is he going to be more accurate, or is he going to rely more on his arm and be able to make the plays first and then go run when he needs to? And he's done that. That's what he's been doing. That's why I could sit there and say now the guy's putting in the work. He's doing the things necessary to become like an actual NFL quarterback, because that's the way you want to be. I remember when he first came to the league, dude, I was one of his biggest detractors, and most people were like, yeah, this guy's not going to make it after a couple of years. They're like, he can't hit the broadside of the barn. But he's improved entirely, entire time. So, yeah, he deserves it without a doubt. All right. So we're going to go through the divisions real quick. Basically, I don't know how much you remember what your picks were, who was going to be there, but I'm pretty sure.
I don't. I know I did very badly. I'm pretty sure I did. What I do remember was I had Cincinnati winning the division, and I pivoted towards Baltimore because of the T. Higgins injury. I had didn't do well. I had the Steelers in last in the division. So that aged like milk. Although
What the fuck you were thinking there?
it was I did
If
not.
you were trying to level your expectations.
It wasn't even. It was. I didn't think. So first off, part of it was I thought that they'd pull Deshaun Watson quicker. They wouldn't have waited as long as they did, although he did get hurt. I also didn't think that the Browns defense was going to fall off a fucking cliff. And they did. So there is that. I picked, let me think here. So I picked Buffalo to win the East because I was still on the Buffalo thing.
Yeah, we're in the East right now. So.
Yeah, I picked Buffalo in the East, I believe. I picked the Jets to make the No, I don't think I did. I picked Buffalo. I picked Baltimore, so I'm doing okay there. I picked the Texans, and I know I picked the Chiefs. So I might have done okay. I think I shit the bed.
I remember what you did in the West. So
yeah, I shit the bed in the NFC, and I shit the bed in the wild cards completely because I had Cincinnati.
So the AFC East, I had Miami winning this division. Yeah. Buffalo second, but I know you had Buffalo first. That was the debate that we had when we started picking. But I did get my Jets at third and Patriots fourth. I got those right. Then in the South, I picked Baltimore first, Pittsburgh second. That turned out nicely. But then I got Cleveland and Cincinnati wrong in reverse.
Ohio's Ohio. It doesn't matter.
Then the other one is I had Houston winning, which they got. But I had this one I really fucked. I had Jacksonville second, Tennessee third, and Indianapolis fourth. That never finished out like that at all. Indy, Jackson, Tennessee was the final of that. Then in the West, I actually got very close. I thought you picked Denver last.
I did. You all stopped.
But Kansas City I had first. I had Denver second, but the Chargers ended up taking that. Denver third, and then I had the Raiders right at the last. As far as my picks for the playoffs, I got Kansas City, Baltimore, Houston, and Buffalo correct. I dabbled. I got Denver correct, but I initially changed it because I'd forgotten Pittsburgh. It actually was going to be in the playoffs. So during that midseason adjustment, I put Pittsburgh in over Denver, but Denver got in. I had Jacksonville there. They didn't get there. I picked Cincinnati at the midway point. They didn't get there.
What the fuck happened to Doug Peterson? By the way,
dude, I don't know, but didn't they fire him? Is he gone now? That was a good move. He just didn't live up anymore.
I don't know, man. That shit was wild. Yeah, I shit the bed because I had the Colts making the wild card. I had the Jets making the wild card, and the Bengals making the wild card.
And can we just admit now that Aaron Rodgers is done? Can we just
Yes. He is one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Aaron, please stop talking about COVID. No one cares. No one cares. On either side, no one fucking cares. Okay? No one cares. Now, you did get yourself suspended because you're a fucking liar and selfish. That did happen. That did fucking happen. And you did mislead the media about it. And you do whine about it all the time. And you're not a good leader anymore. And you do. I want to love you. You were the greatest. You were the greatest quarterback I saw in terms of just raw performance, like in a vacuum. Just like he played the position. He played the position almost like a conductor. Like he was leading the orchestra.
Yeah.
But just let it go. We don't have to talk about COVID. We don't have to talk about eating your time in the fucking Jets. Just retire gracefully. Please don't come back. Please don't be a Steeler. I'm already seeing him being linked to the Steelers.
Oh, I saw the Raiders. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Adams just left there.
Why? He says all these things and he walks them back. The thing I think where I was really done with him was when he made the comment. They asked like, how come things aren't going well in whatever game it was that they lost, and he said like, well, there's 10 other guys on the field.
Yeah.
Aaron, I'm
he
old enough
doesn't
to
like
remember.
self accountability too much.
He doesn't. He doesn't. Just go to Egypt and be happy and come back in a couple of years. Maybe be the quarterback version of Ricky Williams. I don't know, man. Just hang it up. You get your 500 touchdown passes. You're a lot of people top fives. You're first ballot Hall of Famer. You have a Super Bowl. It's okay. You're not a bad person. You're just frustrating. Okay. Brett Favre is fuck you, Brett Favre. Fuck you. But
big fuck you.
But
so
you're not a bad person.
the NFC East, I had Philadelphia, which correct, but then I had Dallas and Washington in reverse. I had Dallas finishing second. Shame
That's
on
a
me.
fine pick. No, not shame on you. Not shame on you. The NFC is a little bit weaker, and Dallas is always good for giving.
I got the Giants right.
Yes, you did. By the way, real quick, they brought back Dable, and I believe they're GM, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because they both suck, and that's it. It's very questionable. I just wanted to bring that up. They suck.
I agree. Yeah. This next one, I blew the goats on this one. I had Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, and Minnesota. None of that shit was right.
I had the Bears making the wild card. At one point in the season, I looked like I was hot fire. No, I shit the bed on that. I thought that the Lions are going to take a step back because of their defense. So I'm sorry, Mr. Campbell. Please don't hit me. I picked the Packers to win the division. That wasn't a bad pick. And I didn't think the Vikings were going to be good at all because I thought they'd have a good defense. And I thought that Justin Jefferson is the truth. But I thought, like, hey, they have a rookie quarterback or they'll have a backup quarterback, so there's a limit on them. Now, I will tell you this. I think they're going to lose in the first round, and I think that they're a little bit of a paper tiger. And I didn't like how they played to close out the year. But
which one?
The Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next group, I got totally right, surprisingly. Tampa Bay won, Atlanta second, Carolina, and then New Orleans. I think you had Carolina last. I think you were pretty much picking them last.
I had Carolina last. I had Atlanta winning it. I had the Saints third to last.
Yeah, we were all kind of hot on Atlanta because, Cousins being there.
Cousins, I was like, they just need above average quarterback play, and they had it for a while. I did draft Drake London and Bijan Robinson in my fantasy league though, so that did work out. It was pretty spicy. Yeah, this was not the year for these are not poetic picks. These were
and then
Discord
I shit
picks.
the bed with the last group. I had Arizona, San Fran, LA, and then the Seattle Seahawks, and nothing turned out that way at all. Although it should be noted, the Seahawks, I think they had 10 wins and still missed it.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I had Seattle.
They should be more pissed than the Bengals.
Oh my God. The notion that the Chiefs are scared to play the Bengals makes so much sense if you forget the last 3 times they've played the Bengals.
Right.
Cincinnati fans, they are very loyal fans. They are very emotional fans. And
They're
because
just
they've
not
not
smart.
had they would sure make you fucking think that the way they're carrying on about the I think most football fans are smart. I think, but when you get the fandom together and the emotion, the passion, it's like people individuals are smart. People are dumb, in groups. Give it a fucking rest. I mean,
Big time.
I just don't want to fucking hear it. And be happy that you didn't make the playoffs, because if they made the playoffs and then they lost to the Chiefs again, it's like most of us are already tired of hearing you whine about how the refs are trying to fuck you. The refs helped you in the fucking Super Bowl against the Rams, and you got plenty of fucking no calls throughout this entire season, just like everybody else, because the refs are bad, and you can pick a bunch of individual plays and say, see, we got screwed. I won't stop it. Just stop it.
Just stop.
Just stop.
So my playoff picks, I had Philly, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay, which were all correct. But then I had Arizona, San Fran, Atlanta, LA Rams, which LA still got in, but at the midway point, because I didn't have Detroit, I mixed that in with Detroit to take over for the Rams. But
Yeah.
those two got in. So yeah, it was kind of a mishmash there. And then as far as like our Super Bowl selections in terms of who gets there, Neko's not here. She was busy with work today, but she picks the Detroit Lions to meet the Ravens in the Super Bowl. I also have that pick, but we're going to go through our picks throughout the playoff or the wild card and everything here in a minute. You had Detroit meeting the Chiefs. So
yes.
Do you still feel confident with that?
I have the Chiefs beating Detroit.
Okay, so you still got that. Okay.
I do. I think that the Chiefs offense is heating up. And while the defense was awesome for a while and it came back down to earth, I don't know why. I don't know if there's been significant injuries. I don't know if people have started to scheme better against them. It with Hollywood Brown back there, and they're getting the running backs right, and they have Kelsey, and they have Hopkins, and they have Xavier Worthy. There is a very real possibility that the best that we've seen out of the Chiefs offense this entire year is what you see in the playoffs. And I will tell you this too. If, let's say, my bracket on the AFC is all the way right, people are going to really fucking hate the Chiefs, because it's really going to be same old. But yeah, you want to do AFC first and the NFC, or you want to do NFC?
I was just going to take it by the games that are playing. So
Sure.
Right now I have Chargers at Texans. So who do you like and why?
I like the Chargers. I like their defense. I think Herbert's been a little bit better than Stroud this year. Stroud has been up and down. I don't know how much of it's on him. I think the sophomore slump is something that can happen.
Yeah.
Harbaugh, I give the edge to them in coaching, and just quite frankly, well, the Texans have an awesome defense. Like we cannot leave that out of the equation. But I view this as a game where the Chargers offense is better. There's more of a gap between the Chargers offense and the Texans offense than the two defenses. So I'll take that.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you. Harbaugh is just the kind of guy that can get the most out of his players. And the thing is, the Chargers are afraid of nobody. And so going into Houston, even though Houston was like last year's darlings, which I was all on board with, Stroud is a beautiful quarterback. But like you said, this year he's shown moments where he's not quite as crisp as he was last year. So whatever that kink is in the armor, the Chargers are going to take advantage of that. They got a good defense, and as long as they don't step on their own fucking dicks, like the Chargers will probably go a nice way through this playoff. But of course, I think they might end up against the Chiefs next or the Ravens, so it's not going to be an easy path. But yeah, I have the Chargers moving on here. So now we're going to move to your favorite. Your Steelers are going back to Baltimore for a third round.
Baltimore wins. It's so frustrating because heading into this year, it was Tomlin and owns the Ravens. And then we beat him the first time. And then the second time around, in the first couple drives, force a fumble. It bounces off of Lamar's back. Ravens get it. They fumble a punt return, I believe. They get it. And then we just death by 1,000 cuts, and it ends up being a very decisive win.
Yeah.
I've talked about Russ on our channel enough Nothing has changed. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's not playing at a Hall of Fame level now. He hasn't for a while. It is what it is. We have one weapon,
It's a
George
lot of
Pickens.
smoke and mirrors with him.
It's our offense. Dan Orlovsky and Kurt Warner pretty much hit my thoughts on it pretty well. We have talent on the offensive line. They don't always play great. They're youngsters. I'm okay with that. They miss second level blocks. God, that's painful. If we don't get big plays in the vertical game, and that's almost exclusively throwing to Pickens, we don't get anything because our offense just like Freiermuth will give you some. He's good. Calvin Austin might spring one, but Freiermuth is a tight end. We can't really get the ball to him over the middle. That's just kind of him being Russell.
He fucking had a shot there in that last game, and he dropped it.
And
he had a huge game. But I mean,
I'm not
mad at it.
It was a fastball. It was brutal. I mean, we lost so much time on the clock anyway because Russ decided to run. It is so dumb.
I was watching. I was like, dude, what am I watching?
He overthrew Pickens.
Wrong with you guys?
Pickens had 3 drops. Pickens is probably not going to be a Steeler next year. He doesn't like Russ. He loved Russ when things are going well. I love Pickens. He's a great talent. He's an amazing player. He is not a level-headed guy.
Yeah, he's just.
So my frustration is if you had told me a month ago that it's Baltimore versus Pittsburgh in the playoffs, I'm thinking, yep, we're getting out of the first fucking round, baby. And on top of that, I'm thinking we're playing in Pittsburgh. A month later, playing in Baltimore and we're the 6th seed. Is what it is. Would it be a shocker if the Steelers won, especially now since Zay Flowers is out? No, I don't. I mean, I think some people would be shocked. I don't think you should be shocked, but I think this is a clear 60-40 Baltimore game. They're playing the best ball of the year. They believe in themselves. They just beat us. It feels like things are changing for them. We've lost 4 in a row. Our quarterback's not playing well. Our secondary is in shambles. So how do you pick the Steelers there?
Yeah,
it's a rough pick.
I think right now the Steelers are not playing their best football.
It's a rough pick. I could make the argument
they're at home, and that's one of their places where they really excel. So it's
I would have loved the 2 teams I wanted to play against the most were the Texans and Denver. Texans because they're in the funk. Denver because they have a rookie quarterback in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and there is something if we can beat you in Mile High. Now is at the start of the year. Bo Nix is a lot better, but if we can beat you in Mile High, which is a horribly difficult place to play, beating you at home should be easier. It is also. I like the TJ Watt matchup against a right tackle.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But yeah, I picked the Ravens, certainly, since they're even going to get to my Super Bowl anyway. But Broncos at Bills.
Bills. Rookie quarterback. You get the coaching advantage. I like your defense more.
Yeah, this is 1 or 2 games that I think are possibly, in fact, it both involve rookie quarterbacks that I think could be upsets. But this, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Bills are really at their best this year right now. This is probably one of their better moments. Like last year, if this was last year, I'd say, well, maybe we have a better shot. I mean, look, I still think we have a shot. Like,
you absolutely have a shot.
Yeah, this is not something I think is like a total given, but, the moment might be a little bit too big for Denver right now. And really, it's more just about, okay, we got there. That's great. So let's get some experience and see what this is all about. But if they win, I'm a happy camper, but I'm choosing the Bills because I think they're just seasoned and they're ready to make that push. Whether or not they can do it against a team like the Chiefs or Ravens, that's another question altogether. But with the Broncos at home, they should be able to take care of business.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I will say this. The world in which Denver wins, Bo Nix obviously has to play well. Sutton probably pops off. What I'm looking for and what I would say is if Denver wins and Mims doesn't have – is it Mims Jr.? You know what I'm talking about. If he I fucking like that kid. And the thing of that the thing of your fucking roster on offense is this. Peyton will scheme guys up, and he is an excellent play caller. The talent level is a little low right now, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But Mims Jr., I loved him coming out of college. I think he has better stats than what a lot of people would think. 39 catches, 500 yards, 6 touchdowns. Not saying he's fucking all pro, but there's a world in which you spike 2 big plays off of him. The defense makes a couple big plays. I like Josh Allen. Josh Allen this year is a little different, but historically he turns the ball over a little bit. It would
Yeah.
be there's a puncher's chance, but I ultimately feel like an unleashed Josh Allen is probably going to do it.
Yeah, I think that if Denver, because I love the way that our young receivers are stepping up, we're actually playing pretty well. Even though we lost to the Bengals and Chargers, we didn't lose by a lot, so we were competitive. If we can get at least 21 to 24 points on offense and maybe a pick six or fumble recovery for a touchdown, I think we can beat them. But it's definitely going to take some defense. We need that little bit of that magic we had against the Browns
You might
and
get a
some of
trick
these other teams.
play. Sean
Yeah,
Payton might open up the fake punt. Who knows?
yeah, yeah.
Who knows?
It's all a matter about, it's all about taking advantage of some miscues by Buffalo. But if Buffalo's on their game, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
All right. So this next game is one that I initially had gone the other way, but I changed before we even started the stream, and that's the Packers at the Eagles. And I initially had the Packers. I do think Jordan Love's a really good quarterback. But kind of like the Steelers, I don't think they're really playing their best football right now, and the Eagles are, and
They
they're
are
at
not.
home.
They are not. It's tough luck for the Packers because they played in the NFC North. That's the best division of football this year.
Yeah,
And so it's weird that a team as good as the Packers is the 7th seed. Because I think that they are better than a lot of the wild card teams in the league just in general. I have to take Philly. Um, the concept of guarding Saquon
that's the other point I was going to bring up because
and
much like
Devontae,
Derrick Henry, you got Barkley, and it's like it's a monster. You just have to
it's
be able to stop it.
AJ Brown, Saquon, and Devontae Smith. That's the best three-headed giant in football, in my
Yeah,
opinion. And Philadelphia, they have a good defense. Here's the thing with Green Bay. Jordan Love is he's a wild man. And he can be, if he's your quarterback, you can in football anything can happen, but if he's your quarterback, you can beat anybody and you can lose to anybody. But it's hard for me to see Philly. The vibes are right. The defense is playing well. The offense is disgusting.
yeah.
Jalen's concussion, which absolutely nuked me in fantasy, by the way. It's why I didn't win my fucking league, unfortunately. But his concussion and how he plays his first game back is a bit of an X factor. But if you just look, I mean, Philadelphia has one of the best rosters in football, top to fucking bottom. It always feels like we're saying that.
I mean, it still kind of works with Green Bay's favor because the Eagles' tradition last couple of years have been chokers in the playoffs. I mean, it's happened. So, and if for God knows if Jordan becomes the guy that played against Dallas last year, and he'll slay him. He'll just destroy him.
Oh God, yeah. If he gets into that point, it's a wild fucking thing with him because there's not a throw that man can't make. And the other thing with him is, God, this is gonna sound like a backhanded compliment, but it's not. He totes that fine line between bravery and stupidity. And while
Mhm.
that might not be a great way to go on a long time winning streak in the playoffs, it could definitely get you there. He's going to he might throw a touchdown pass that shouldn't work 95% of the fucking time.
Well, playing like that's never a bad thing. Here's the difference, and you and I talk about quarterbacks all the time. There's playing with recklessness. So then you have, let's say, Jordan Love or
Josh Allen at times. I mean, to be fair,
Josh or Matt Stafford's very good at this. He can sometimes you like love hate him sometimes when he does his shit. But the difference is those guys are on the positive end of this. Now the guys that don't usually do very well and they try to get crazy, you
Jameis
got the
Winston.
Winston, Cutler, those kind of guys, they're just going to kill you more times than they help you. And that's the problem. I mean, dude, if you look at that game against Denver, they should have fucking beat our pants off. The way Judy was playing and the way that Jamesis was playing, he threw 2 pick sixes in that game.
One of them,
he gave it to us.
I think one of them wasn't his fault, is what I saw after the fact, that there is a miscommunication. But it doesn't matter because, one, it happened. 2, there are other passes that should have been picked.
Yeah.
So,
and then of course that last one where they were still trying to get back in the game at the end, he threw a third one in the end zone. It's like, and it didn't go for 6, but it just was like you're sitting yourself. I watch guys who reacted to it and they're like, how does this guy do this? And so I've been calling this forever. JD keeps thinking I'm crazy when I call Jameis not like a great quarterback. I'm like, this is why. He's got an arm, he's talented, but he's not good.
He's good enough to be in the league. He's good enough to be a spot starter. There was some time in Tampa where he stringed together some good seasons. I don't know what happened to him, because there is a point where it was a common take. Jameis Winston's getting better and he's a top 10 quarterback. And that wasn't a controversial take.
People made an argument that Denver should take or pick him up because Peyton did a good job with him in New Orleans. And that's true. But then you have to wonder how much of it was, did Peyton kind of like scale back anything? Did he keep the reins on?
They were chucking it. They were chucking it. It wasn't a complete like game manager thing. I will say this, and there's a lot of evidence against me. There is a timeline where he had a coach like Peyton and he has a good, consistent Pro Bowl-ish career. I think his biggest thing is he's a goofball and he's really likable. He's really popular.
Oh, he's a nice dude.
But the other thing with him is, you get all past that, he's a competitor and he wants to win. And sometimes he can't scale that back. And so reuniting him with Peyton, especially if it was like a backup role or like somebody got hurt or whatever, that would have been incredible. That might be your Sam Darnold thing. He's one of those. He is one of those what if guys, because I do wonder. Cutler was a pouty hoe, to use a phrase I turned. But what does his career look like if he was with Shanahan? Because Shanahan did seem to reach him. So there's some guys. It's like Joey Harrington, wonderful human being, talented guy, just not an NFL quarterback. Had the talent. There's just some guys who are never going to make it. If you put a gun to my head, was there a timeline where Winston was an awesome quarterback? I think that was somewhere in the equation. He's still better than Deshaun Watson, though. I will say that. I would rather start him than Deshaun Watson.
Well, he's a better human being.
That is a low bar, but a bar that does technically exist.
So my next game is actually an upset. And even though I love Baker and what he's done in Tampa, I think they.
Did we agree? Did we agree? Did we
have the Commanders winning this game?
Me too.
It's just one of those ones you think is kind of sneaky, and so I think the Commanders are the type of team that this would be a game where they could sneak up on the Bucs. I mean, the Bucs are playing pretty good, but
they are.
The Commanders, they've got this aura about them this year that's just scary. And everyone keeps saying, we don't want to play the Bengals, man, but I don't think you want to play the Commanders. This is a team that they beat the Eagles, and they've done it coming back from behind. It's not like they're scared of nobody either. The Chargers and Commanders are those two teams that I don't think anybody wants to play.
Jaden Daniels is too young to know that there are teams he shouldn't be able to beat, and that can hurt you, that can help you. He's also just a dynamic player, and he can just go off and beat you, and there's always a puncher's chance. Here's why I'm picking the Commanders. Week 1, they played the Bucs. They lost. In that game, let's see here. In that game, the big player for the Bucs was Godwin. 8 catches, 83 yards, and a touchdown. I'm not saying that's a crazy game-breaking game. But what I am saying is I believe the Commanders traded for Lattimore. I believe he's healthy and playing now. He and Evans have battles. But if you do to them what teams do to the Steelers, what a lot of teams do to the Steelers is they say you can only really move the ball if you throw it to Pickens. We're going to double Pickens to some extent, whether there's 2 corners, whether there's the safety over the top, whatever. What do? Bucky Irving's a good running back. Cade Otton's a good tight end. I'm not saying they're hopeless, but if you take Evans out, you are severely limiting that offense.
Yeah.
And Tampa's had an awesome offense for quite some time now. And one of the things that good NFL teams do, they did it in Cincinnati, and they did it in fucking Kansas City, and they did it in Tampa for Brady, and so on and so forth, is you get two pass catchers who are good, so you just can't take away one. And Tampa did that. Unfortunately, Godwin, who's having a monster year, had that terrible fucking injury. This is awful. And he's not there. So it's hard for me to confidently say the Commanders got this easy. And I want to pick the Bucks.
Yeah.
But I do think that the Commanders will steal this one.
Yeah, definitely. Which leads us to our last game, the Vikings at the Rams. And unlike you, because I know you love the Rams, I do have the Vikings going on the road and winning this. He's like, all right, I'm out of here, man. Fuck you, dude.
The Rams are my NFC team. The first actual NFL game I ever saw that I ever went to was a Rams game when they're in St. Louis, because I'm a Springfield, Illinois boy. I got the Rams. I got the Rams by 10. I love their defense. Cooper Kupp is healthy-ish. Puka Nacua, I think, is they're going to do very well against that Minnesota defense. I did not like the way Sam Darnold played last week. For all intents and purposes, that was a playoff game. The Rams have already beat the Vikings. And while the Vikings can scream and cry about how they got screwed in that game because it was just blah blah blah, stop bitching. There were many other calls that went your way, some no calls that went your way. Just when you have a nationally televised game and there's a bad call at the end of the game, that's what we focus on. Not the other 58 minutes. And even if you got that, you had to go the length of the field and blah, blah, blah. So here's the other thing too. I think coaching is a wash. You could give the edge to McVay because he has a Super Bowl, more postseason experience. So maybe slight edge to them. I think Matt Stafford, I think when we go for the next episode, and if I'm wrong on this, style on me because I deserve it. But I think when we meet next week, one of the narratives that's going to be in the NFL is, can the Rams sneak their way back to another Super Bowl? Because I think their offense is going to look so good with those wide receivers. I think the running game will look good. I think people are going to go, oh, fuck, we have to beat McVay. We have to beat Stafford. And they're going to look and they're going to go, well, they can, with a little luck, they can get the Eagles and the Lions, and they can definitely beat the Commanders. Not saying those other teams can't beat them. But you start remembering how when the Rams won the Super Bowl, towards the end of the year, Stafford was throwing more picks, mostly because he was trying to get OBJ.
Yeah, they didn't really have like a dominating regular season. They kind of just
they were really good. They looked like they were going to be a juggernaut. Then things got wonky.
I think Vaughn like halfway through the season, and then
they traded for Vaughn. They got OBJ, and a lot of Stafford. He went from being like fringe MVP to like, oh, that was weird with all the picks. A lot of them came to he was getting on the page for OBJ because they knew that they had him for the playoffs, and it worked. And so I like the Vikings. I think they overachieved. I think they won a handful of games. You could say it's by any team, but I think they won a handful of games they would probably not get again. They were kind of like the anti-Niners in this year. I like the Rams. I am confident that the LA Rams will beat the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay. So I do have our bracket. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to hold on to that. We're just going to, when we regroup next week and we'll see what happens with the results, we'll kind of go back and say, well, do we still feel good about this?
Yeah.
So we'll keep our brackets intact, but we will kind of look at that because there might be some surprises that we didn't see coming. Maybe the
Steelers will get it. Yeah, they could. Yeah. Hey, if maybe TJ Watt will give me one of them, 4 or 5 sack games.
Look at the sexy man. Look at the sexy man. You look fine. Look at this sexy man. He looks great.
Oh, you look amazing.
He's proud of me because I've lost a lot of weight, and he keeps sending me dick pics.
Can't help it.
They were solicited though. He even posed for a couple. Yeah,
I was this close to getting a Bo Nix jersey. he made a wager that when we talked about MVP, that if he can convince me, or if he couldn't convince me that Lamar deserved it, then he would get it. And he fucking convinced me.
Why do you think Lamar doesn't?
Well, it's not. No, Lamar was in my list. I look at it sometimes differently than other people because Sam Darnold, Minnesota, like what they've done is even the coach is a collective is like really impressive. But when I look at Lamar's stats and how it's so much more improvement this year, that I didn't even know. Like it's a world difference. He hasn't played this well since 2019, stat wise.
He's coached up, I guess.
Well, and he's learning, he's getting better, and he's doing the things that I've always said that he needs to do. It's like become a better passer in the pocket, run when you need to because you have the athleticism, but don't rely on that because another 2 or 3 years he's going to be old man like me, and he's not going to be able to do that shit.
He needs to be able to reach back, and he needs to be able to
Yeah, you remember Elway and the helicopter? Like Elway, that took everything Elway had in his gas tank to do that. So.
Yeah, he needs to be able to tap into it when he can. I think with Lamar as a passer, one of the things that I think just helped him, and a lot of people don't want to admit that this matters, but because it's this weird sports fandom that we do, you can get better at things that you're good at. And so about 2 years ago, I was like, okay, the narrative that he's not a good passer at all is gone. Now it's like, can he become a great passer? Because there's interesting good and great. And
he was thrown over 4,000 yards, which is a high for him too. So.
Yeah, it's high for this year. The quarterback stats are down the past couple of years, and I don't know why.
So do you still feel good about your Detroit Ravens selections? Because that's what I got you right now. I still have you.
Yeah, I actually do. I think the Ravens are a better team than pretty much everybody else that.
Well, we said that last year too.
Yeah, but I absolutely adore the Lions, and I want them to win more than anything.
Well, we'll see how it goes. They both have buys right now, so we're safe for at least 1 week with the picks.
So is he going to come?
Oh, actually, the Ravens are not.
Come cut our grass naked? If
I told him, I told him you would not let it go. I told him this. See, and he didn't believe me. I said she's going.
No, I believed you. I 100% believed you. I didn't lose that bet, nor did I agree to it.
He did. He just doesn't want to. He pretends he doesn't remember it.
I didn't.
It's
no,
like he's got CTE. That's what's fucking happened here.
No, I am not Antonio Brown. God damn. I got
you orange chicken and an egg roll. And
oh, cool. I'm hungry too.
I'm hungry as fuck.
All right, folks, and my man is hungry, and he needs to make it up to his wife for all the dick pics he sent me. So with that,
yeah, man, I appreciate you taking the time out. You look great, brother. I'm happy for you. You're a great friend, and
I love.
This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this.
Absolutely,
good job on the MVP talk. Stole me a fucking jersey, but that's good. I'm not going to hold you to that at all because you're my friend. So maybe Christmas, maybe.
I tell you what, if the Broncos win the Super Bowl, I'll buy you 2 jerseys.
Dude, that's fucking fat. That's never going to happen, but I like it.
It might happen in 2 years. It's probably not happening. Let's do
this. Let's make it fun. Okay. Right. If either one of our teams gets past the first opponent, we buy each other a jersey. So
Absolutely.
if the Steelers win, I will get you something. If the Broncos win, you can do the same. If we both win, we both do it together.
Yeah, 100%. I think the there is a point in the season where it looked like we might get Steelers versus Broncos in the first round. That would have been a lot of fun.
Well,
that would have been a lot of fun.
Is there a way that we would even meet in the AFC Championship game?
Let's see.
We cross paths first.
We are. We're 7th in the 6th seed, so I think we could only meet in the AFC Championship game.
Okay, so that'd be kind of cool.
That Vegas would have lost their ass.
I saw people on X. They were like showing their bets that Denver would get to the Super Bowl. Like it was like $12,000 win pot if they get it. It's like nuts.
Oh God, yeah. There's I always love it when a dog like that progresses through the tournament and they're picking up momentum. And then Vegas is like, we have closed the action on this team. The last line of bets has come through. Fuck y'all, all of y'all, blow me.
Well, anyway, anybody who's watching this, give us your thoughts. How do you feel about the NFL season, both how it concluded, how the playoff teams are looking? Do you agree with our assessments? Do you agree with the Lamar stuff? You might.
Yeah.
Or do you think it goes to Josh or somebody else? We'd like to hear your opinions on this. Hit the like and subscribe button, please. And if you support the channel, we appreciate the support always.
Absolutely. Tell us that we're wrong. You can even call me a fat
He'll just spend all day telling you why you're wrong.
Or and if you convince me, I'll mow your lawn naked.
Yeah, there you go. Right. We got a video now. We got a video, right? But you'll never convince him. That's the key.
I've already found the best argument, so how could they? No. If I was honest, about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I was really rooting for Saquon to get it. That's who I wanted to get it, because I wanted to be a running back.
In discussion, man, like you said, he's there.
To break the record. I wanted him to style. The other guy that I was rooting for, off on the fringe, he was in it for a while and he kind of fell out of it, was Goff. There was a world in which Goff got MVP, that Goff won the Super Bowl, and I got to say, I told you motherfuckers he wasn't washed, because there's a lot of people who owe Mr. Goff and me apologies on our beloved boy.
I thought they sent him to Detroit to die.
I thought that he was going to be a good quarterback, and he's playing better than a good quarterback.
And that's strange because he was in the Super Bowl, so it's kind of fun.
No, it was the Patriots did him so bad that I think people just really forgot what they could do to somebody. But we're doing this again next week, right?
Yep.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next week. And if you don't, here's the thing: if you don't support this man, his other stuff, I'm gonna date your mom. I'm gonna date her hard. I'm gonna make her.
He's looking like Fabio now.
Like I'm really.
What do we call it? The Middle Eastern Fabio. How would you define that?
I'm about to take her to Pound Town in the Sand Land.
He's gonna do the little gypsy dance.
I'm gonna do the gypsy dance thing in the what do you call it? Anal, hardcore anal. That's what I'm gonna do with your mom.
He's gonna show you his big cobra.
It's not big. It's I'm a hard worker. I'm a hard worker. With that being said, y'all, thank you and thank you. That's it. Thank y'all. Bye.
Get fucked.
Get fucked.
Fuck you, Brett Favre. Fuck you.
Fuck you, Brett Favre. That's how we end it. Fuck you, Brett Favre.